Pulled out of bed, that can only mean one thing. It's time for Mechanical Metal Mayhem. It's a Forged Alliance Forever 5 versus 5. Incidentally, these guys called their own game Join for Sounding Experience. And I thought, you know what? That's quite a cool name. I'm going to call that and I'm going to work that into the title. And so welcome to that. And then we'll start the initial sequence there. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. 4th of February 2023, both as I record this and the date that this game went down on the Neuroxis AI map generator. AI reckons it's 92% balanced, so we're going to have to see if that tips things in favour. Rated 1336. And with the music coming to an end, it can only mean one thing. It's Forged Alliance Forever! Apologies there. If anybody got their eardrums left, well, if you don't, I apologise. I should put a disclaimer in. Don't listen to this with headphones on, because I just did, and I think I may be deaf for about the next few hours or so. With that little bit of a distraction out the way, let's come on, gate ourselves in, or should we say teleport? I think teleport sounds more exciting. Into the Forged Alliance Forever, the bilateral quantum dimensions, and here we go. Let's unpause. And we'll welcome our teams in. Again, first and last time we'll ever see this map. And it's quite a cool one. There's very much the desert theme going on here. I did see another replay before I decided to not cast that one. And although it was a pretty good game, unfortunately there was a nasty desync in the game. Was also a very nice map. And I was really looking forward to cast it. But unfortunately, and I checked until about halfway through. The desync was about half the way through. So I was really lucky to catch that one. Otherwise, we'd have a replay with a desync. That's no guarantee there ain't going to be a desync on the back end, by the way. And so hopefully, if I haven't put enough people off together, we're screaming down the mic and saying that, this replay may or may not get to an end. Let's introduce our players then. And so we'll start on the south side on the northern team in white. And how do I say this? Inside the first 2 minutes. Let's just say he's somebody that likes to visit in some aggressive fashion around people's back passage. And we'll leave that one there. I will name him accordingly as the replay unfolds. For those not aware, there's this weird sort of rule on YouTube where if you want to use your curse words and so on, you have to hold off for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes just to help with the advertiser-friendly stuff. Not that I have ads anyway, but if you did. And for some reason, if YouTube catches you using these curse words, and they say it themselves, it's not like it's a secret that's passed around between content creators. They say it themselves, hold off on your opening intro, and so we'll hold off using the curse words on the intro. I know sometimes I get carried away and end up using them. Anyway, with all of that completely unrelated stuff out the way, let's get back on. Position 2 then, or the more central position for the forward half of Team 1, or on the northern team, it's Quasar. This guy, as far as I'm aware, if it's the same guy, been around since the day one. And Quasar, going on a bit here. Quasar, does anybody else anywhere in the world know of the game Quasar? Now, here in the UK, there was this thing called Quasar. And again, I don't know if it's a worldwide thing or not, but this is what you did. There were these centres, let's call them, dotted about the country. And inside was like this big hall. And the hall was decked out to be like this army sort of door-to-door, upstairs, downstairs. It was not quite an assault course, but like if you imagine going door-to-door houses combined with an assault course, it was that kind of thing. And you'd have 2 teams, one at either side, and you'd be kitted out with these guns, these laser guns, and you would wear this suit as well, top to bottom, and your suit was covered in sensors. And so as you went round, you would get your gun, you'd point it at someone, and if you pulled the trigger, providing you were pointed at them, the laser would contact their suit. It wasn't like a laser that would blind you, it was a different type of laser, but as long as you hit them, basically their suit would judder to let them know that, you know, they've lost a point, and you would get a point, you know, favouring you, and then whoever at the end had the most point wins. Anyway, that game was called Quasar, and these halls were either you could join a public session, but most fun of all was when you had a group of friends in whatever capacity. Maybe it was a class at school, or in our case it was our air cadet squadron, and we would go down there, we'd rent the hall, there'd be like 30, 40 kids running around. Of course, we were sort of teenagers at that point, shooting each other. Now, whether such things still exist today, I don't know, but that thing was called Quasar. I know the one nearest to where we live shut down, unfortunately, but maybe it still exists. Anyway, with that massive talk about something that's got nothing at all to do with the game, it's Quasar's fault, blame him. Let me bring the mini-map back on, because I do get rid of that for the screenshot purposes, and we'll resume a little quicker. Finally then, the last forward slot here for Team 1 up top, it's Azrael, Seraphin in blue, and he's gone first land and already moving his commander out to the front, which is quite a large desert area. We'll take a closer look at the map in a minute. The two rear slots then for Team 1. In the rear, it's Stuxnet. Do you remember the Stuxnet virus? Wasn't that the one that went round years ago and was destroying the nuclear heavy water fabricators or something that Iran had, or something to that effect, and it would make these machines that were supposed to be doing something for the nuclear industry spin too fast, or they would overheat or something, and the virus would basically prevent the warning system from alerting the people that were there. And anyway, I think that was the Stuxnet virus. Maybe somebody can correct us on that. Either way, he's the 1400 rated. The Stuxnet virus today may or may not be tinkering with nuclear systems. We'll have to see. He's going first land as Cybran. And then last but not least for Team 1, it's Cheerios, also Seraphin, the 1400 rated. There are so many Seraphin players, not just today, but I've noticed generally a lot more people Seraphin than ever used to be. And certainly if you've got lots of water, although I guess then, I don't know, are they to know what the map looks like ahead of time with it being an AI-generated map? Do you know, somebody could let us know. Do you get a decent enough thumbnail preview ahead of the time to know where you're going to fight? Or is it too small to know exactly what's going to happen? Or do you get no inkling at all? As somebody, please let us know. I would like to know, because I think that obviously has a strong influence on what faction you're going to choose. Over then to the south side. Let's start at the 3 o'clock position. In red, it's Madlord. First UEF of the day. The 1200 rated going first land and second land. And is already pushing out with his commander covering the east side. Motel. Who remembers that, Mr. Warren G? Oh, I'm on once a day. All right, secondly then, for the rear position in, I was going to say, no, he's sort of half the front, half the back. Half in, half out, it's Melanol Aeon, 1200 rated, going first land, also already moving out with his ACUs. Shows how long I've been babbling. We're at -3 and everybody's already moving in. Finally, in the rear with the gear, it's Unknown, the 1900 rated Cybran player, going first land and already rushing a Tech 2 upgrade. That shows how long. He's already 85% of the way there. It's minute 2:52 as I said that. He's going to have that by about minute 3. Very fast. This was never possible in my day. I'm not sure what has to be done. I guess he does very little else, just reclaim and that's it. But yeah, it's an unusually fast upgrade for sure. Next up in the 11 o'clock position for Team 2, it's Gutsy Heart, 1500 rated Aeon, going first air. And here's why. He wanted to ensure he could get that transport out and rush over and to the very northwest side of the map, the northwest corner. And it looks like he's going to get it. He leads it with a scout, lets him know he's not dropping onto pointlessness. ACU going up half the way. That could favour the lower team very much indeed. And then last but not least, it's, oh dear, Emmy Jibka, the UEF going first and second land. And I say last but not least, and it's sort of one of those sayings that we all just say. But today, unfortunately, it just transpires that he certainly is the least. At least when it comes to rating, he's a 900 rated, but he's going UEF. So you know what? We'll give him credit there that he didn't pick the crappiest race. Who is the crappiest race? Well, I best not weigh in on that because some of you'll know out of the 4 races, there was one that I never ever played. I hated it. And sometimes when we went random map, random team, random faction, and I ended up with that particular race, it was like, oh, come on. Can't we just quit? Hey, it's lagging. You know, and I'd start pulling and putting my internet wire out and plugging it back in, and the whole game would lag. And then someone says, oh, rehost. And I was like, yes, click that wire back in. Oh, I fixed it now. I had a download going. I didn't realize. Sorry. And because next time I was UEF or a faction that I enjoyed. And that was how I got around that one. Yeah. All right, back to the game at hand then. Let's go to full pace. And the south side here. Team 2, liking what I'm seeing. It looks like Commander ahead of the curve over on the southeast. They're ahead of the curve over on the northwest with this expansion, thanks to Gutsy Heart. Pushing out into the middle as well. Gonna call him Emmy just for brevity's sake. Is already getting the gun. 22% has engineers assisted. Can he really afford that? Well, he can for now. And that's flying up real fast thanks to the engineer assist. He now puts on a second engineer. He is stalling a little bit on mass. Well, if it keeps him afloat on energy and prevents the energy stall, goes out of the 2 things. If you have to stall on one of them, stall on mass. If you stall on energy, your mass production goes out the window as well. If you only stall on mass, your energy, of course, doesn't. Melanol with the Aeons. And Asriel, I'm going to call him. I don't want to potentially upset things in that regard. I'll just call him the Invader here, who is perhaps the most compact expansion yet out of anybody. He's like barely moved, but he is also getting the gun. You see here, begging for E, he needs it, and he's got 3 NGs assisting his commander. And that could be quite dangerous if he manages to get it. We see here Madlord extending a long way from home. Has not got the gun, at least not yet. Over in the northwest side, we've got Stuxnet, who is approaching this expansion here from Gutsy. And Gutsy Heart with his commander. Now, this here, not necessarily the best. His commander goes out of position to capture this single mass point. I'd have liked to have seen the commander continue to pursue up north and send a solitary engineer this way instead. An ACU on the rim is dim. Remember that, like a commander on the rim is dim. Those of you that play chess will know a knight on the rim is dim. That's where the saying comes from. Exactly the same in Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. Worst place to put your command. I mean, late game, all right, don't get me wrong. But in the early game, the commander's the best unit you've got to fight with. You don't want it somewhere off the side where it's not going to see any action. And that looks like it's going to allow Stuxnet to completely overrun this position that Gutsy Heart put so much into capturing early doors with his engineer drop. You see, engineers are retreating into the corner. They may get away with that thanks to a lack of intel. We'll have to see. And I think had Gutsy Heart, instead of coming off to the side, continued to press, that would not have gone that way. Nice pickup from Stuxnet regardless. Coming into the middle end. And Emmy, oh, what are you doing? You're right next to... Why are you shooting this? You're letting enemy engineers pick up stuff for free. All right, finally a round of artillery. I guess he wants to get his Tech 2 triad down, but he's not got enough to defend. Again, the aggressive Tech 2 UEF engineer, ACU beg your pardon, trying to get aggressive with their point defense. Oh, and he was so lucky that Israel there didn't continue. I'm going to butcher your name. I'm going to call him Azrael. Didn't continue to press. He would have picked up, and that is going to allow Emmy there to get a second point defense down. And if Azrael there don't think about something here quick, that is going to lock down the position for the lower team in the central, at least half through the center there. Melanol here looks like he's got the range but not the rate of fire, so that's going to allow him to shoot from distance but not increase the amount of damage or the speed that he can put the shots at. But you know, sometimes being able to shoot at range by itself is an advantage, and he's just going to pick apart these units here belonging to Azrael. And Azrael gets his Tech 2, but has to run away. At least Azrael ain't trying to put a Tech 2 gun on the front line in a position he can't possibly hold. But he does have a large quantity of Tech 1 and just as well. Tech 2 fighter bombers out from Unknown. The South team. There's at least 4 of them here. They're the Corsairs. And Cheerios looks like he's going to try and pick him up. He gets into an air engage. And Unknown, you know, it's not the best use of fighter bombers in an air-to-air engage. He loses 1. You know, they're better at shooting at stuff against the ground than they are in the air. Cheerios gets a second. Very well played there. Bit of a mistake from Unknown. The 1900 rated, I think. I don't think he intended to use those. Meanwhile, back, let's take a look down here. Madlord, an anal invader. Looks like they're going to go for a 2-for-1. Both very heavily damaged. Both below 1,000. And both commanders going down there, minute 10. Glad I caught that one. And I'm glad we get rid of that guy with a funny name who can only risk getting the channel banned right off the bat before we even get going. We're banned thanks to somebody and his dodgy name. Either way, looks like full share is on. The base belonging to the invader going over to Quasar, and on the south side, Madlord's base handed off to Unknown, the strongest player. And with that, before we get to the 11th minute, it's a 4 versus 4. Quasar now getting the gun over in the middle. Melanol is getting the rate of fire on his Aeon, who already has the range. And here we see in the north side, Unknown with his Tech 2 fighter bombers picking off isolated Tech 2s. And look at the damage he's caused. Stuxnet with more mass points not taken than are. Unknown setting them back, and he's continuing to pump out Corsairs, the Tech 2 fighter bomber. Does Team 1 have an answer to this? Because he's just, it looks like he's picking apart the economy of Stuxnet. And if that's allowed to continue, Stuxnet will not be able to provide a counter. And that's kind of crucial, because if we take a look, looks like Gutsy Hart wins the top corner back. Stuxnet going down. More mass points. Cheerios desperately trying to help out. And Unknown just continuing. He's just going after mass. Doesn't matter who the player is, he's going after mass. Providing his team overall some alleviation. You know, if the opponent hasn't got as much mass as you, they can't fight as good as you. So it's not an immediately obvious benefit going after the mass points, but it just alleviates the pressure off everybody, you know, 5-10 minutes later due to a reduction in the amount of units coming through. Quasar versus Unknown here. And it looks like Team 1, at least for now, have got the numbers. Pushing Unknown back. And it's not at all a cohesive engagement from either player, but sometimes, even if it's just a 10 or 20% advantage in your favour, cohesion or not, you got to push through. Problem is, if Unno decides to withdraw slightly, concertina in together his forces, both on the front line and those coming through, that would present Unno with a cohesive force that would then be able to repel this. So minor mistake potentially from Unno. He does have some Tech 1 fighter bombers in the air. He's got more Corsairs over here. Taking a look up top then. Looks like some lines have been drawn here between Team 1 and Team 2. And Gutsy Heart putting down the Oblivions. Gutsy, Tech 2 on his commander, that's it. What have we here? Well, Tech 1 point defense going down from Stuxnet. Not necessarily the best place for one, but I don't know. Maybe he's fearing an overrun. And Quasar here with more and more units. There are some Tech 2 limited forces here from Melanol, which will push into the side of this advance. I think Unno's going to be very thankful for that, and it is enough. Quasar decides I'm pulling back, and this right here, minor mistake from Quasar. I'd have liked to have seen him split these units off and send more this way. Now it does look like he's sent 3 units, but if we hold shift we can see actually these were supposed to go over there, and it's just an error on the pathfinding with these 3 units. Okay, I get it, you've got superior forces here, you can't continue to send more units in, but there were so many units here. Push them this way, split the rest off back home to base by all, and you'd have had all of this. They've had, two mass points, engineer, radar, anti-air, as well as a factory. And it looks like Quasar does realise now that he has 2 units and he is sending them in. We'll have to see, does he manage to pick that off? Things looking relatively steady in the static. We've got some Tech 2 static artillery base wars going. Seraphim shields tough to crack. Even the Tech 2 Seraphim shields are strong. And here we get this Tech 2 force from Menonol versus superior numbers of spam belonging to Quasar. And there the ping goes down, potentially letting Unno know. Unno now looks like he does know. Sends his bomber in. And he's so confident he's going to win. He's already started rebuilding this mass point before the unit's taken care of. Some fantastic jostling here from Melanol. Shows if you keep micro in just what you can do. Now he has happened to run into Quasar's commander, and so micro or not, providing Quasar can overcharge, he will lose units there. But those units got some fantastic work done. 5 kills, 10 kills, 5 kills, 8 kills, and so more than paid for themselves, cleaned out a lot of spam and took off a huge amount of pressure from Unno, who I don't think would have been able to hold on to the southeastern side had that been allowed to continue. Meanwhile, over in the northwest, Gutsy Heart thinks, right, waited long enough, I'm pushing through. There is very limited numbers of Tech 2 rhinos there belonging. There is Tech 2 rhinos. Stuxnet, but he's got to keep microing them, does finally move them and just about holds onto it, gets just enough units in. Doesn't feel like he has enough to push the counter-attack, and that's perhaps wise. There's at least 2 Tech 2 point defenses there, the Oblivions from Aeon. Very high damage, not the highest rate of fire, but you know, you can't have it all. It's either rate of fire or damage. Perhaps arguably the Cybrans have the highest rate of fire. It's just a continuous laser, but the lowest amount of damage. Very good against Tech 1 units, though. And Menol looks like balls to the wall going in with his commander. He's got the chrono dampener, so he's going to continuously freeze up these units belonging to Quasar. We see him there with the... It's a bit like stuns them, almost like the Medusas. And that's going to render them almost useless for a large percentage, maybe is even the majority of the time. And looks like Quasar and Melanol. Is this going to be another twofer? Well, Melanol looks like he's desperate for a rank of vet. He didn't get it. He's trying to get away. And is that another 2-for-1? Quasar and Melanol, indeed it is. Again, 2 players taking it. So not often you see that twice in one game. But we have now. You get to see all kind of things on this channel. If I'm not screwing it up. Over to the top side, it's Stuxnet again versus Gutsy Heart. And I'm just going to slow time down 1 sec to point out something here. We know that this game was a 92% balanced according to the AI. It actually says 93 up there, so it depends where you look as to whether it's 92 or 93. Either way, though, just look at this. The 2 weaker players from one team, the 1200s, are out. And that's for the Southern team. And the 2 slightly stronger players, 1300 rated, are both out from the top team. And so while this may have been a slight advantage for Team 2, if we take a look, 1340 versus 1320, this gap has actually widened. The stronger team by 20 points has lost... No, correction. Hang on. What am I... No, sorry. The weaker team has lost both of their 1200s, so the 1300s. The stronger team losing the weaker players. And so what that means is, although it looks like 2 players down on each, the team that was already slightly ahead is now even more ahead. And that's going to this team. Tripping over my own words there. Let's resume then a little bit more. A quick look at Eco just before we go full ball. We're coming up to minute 19. Team 2, so the Southern team, 478 versus 330. Now, the reason the Northern team is so far behind is thanks to those Corsair mass snipes that Unknown was putting out. You know, taking out Tech 2 mass that had to be rebuilt. And you see now, 5 minutes later, just how detrimental that's been. They're about 150 mass behind every tick, the Northern team. And with the stronger players remaining on the Southern team, this is soon going to become unsustainable. Only time will tell if it's going to unfold. And it looks like here, Stuxnet in a spot above her. 2,000 hit points remaining. Walked into just too many oblivions. And this is fast looking like a battle that Stuxnet can't possibly win. He's almost run out of units. Looks like he agrees. He's pulling his units back. The only thing he's allowing to continue there is the Tech 1. And again, the cheeky attack move out of the factory. Essential there to get as much Rex as he can. And Gutsy Heart says, I know you're trying to get your Rex, and so I'm going to move in with these Obsidians and tell you no. Takes out some static anti-air guns, but... Oh, that's ballsy. Let's go back to full pace. 2,600 walks into a wall of enemy units. Gets a rank of vet. That's going to put him up to 5.8. And with that, I think he's just about going to hold on to it. He's got what looks like just enough units here. He overcharges the next Obsidian. That puts him halfway on to the next rank of vet. Fantastic play there from Stuxnet. Team 1 needed something to happen, and there it is. Cybran Balls of Titanium. Chassis still on fire, but that just goes to show. And that, no doubt, keeps him in. Cheerios with control of the southeastern flank now. It's just a static game in the mid. Azrael versus Emmy, who don't seem to be doing anything other than long-range trench warfare. Artillery barrage after artillery barrage. Good job players are doing stuff on the side, because this kind of thing is not always the most interesting game in the world to cast when players are just teching up with long-range shots. And here we see it again. The Northern team losing the mass points thanks to massive aerial bombardment from Unknown. And that's just going to make that mass gap, the discrepancy, getting ever wider. See, it's stuff here belonging to the Southern team has not been challenged at all. And so having the 1900 rated on one team, and again, the strongest player on the other side is 1400. Yes, they've got more. It always seems to be, not always, but in the majority of cases, it seems to be, no matter how balanced the teams are, and I'll say it, you know, about 3,000 more times, if one of the teams has a disproportionately high rated player, granted the rest of them may be slightly lower, but the higher rated player, despite however well else the teams are balanced, it seems to be the one that tips it, because of course as players go down, usually the higher rated one gets the bases because the higher rated one's done better until that point, especially if they're in the rear where they're a little safer, they're less likely to get sniped. We'll have to see if that transpires today. Mass totals 372 for Team 2, 314 for Team 1. That's interesting. They're about 3 to 2 mass income ahead now. So for every 3 mass the Southern team, Team 2 are getting, the top team are getting 2, although the totals are not quite as wide. Mass totals are about 5. For every 5 or 6 mass the South team gets, the top team got 4 or 5. So about 15-20% favouring the Southern team overall, but the income is just really wide. It's about 50% favouring the Southern team. And that is going to be because they're controlling the Southeastern, they're controlling the Northwest, and they've had Unknown there picking off mass points throughout. And it looks like there's so much artillery. Has Emmy finally broken through? Well, the question is, does the artillery shell impact before the shields come back on? And there you see the answer was no. But there's so much artillery raining in. And I think Azrael there is going to finally succumb to the artillery war. Doesn't look like he's got anything to shoot back with. Those Sarah shields are just so strong. And he's going back here to set up a new base. He does have a bunch of Otham siege tanks. Bricks now from Unknown. Moving into Cheerio's base. Does Cheerio's anything? Cheerio, apologies for missing that. Goes down. Despite having the bricks next to his commander. Was he sniped or... I feel terrible for missing that. Everything hands over to Stuxnet that was. Stuxnet hands a large portion of it over to Azrael. And that's nice play. Couple of Titans get the run by. I think these bricks may just be in range to sort them out. And indeed they are. And so at least Azrael has a moment or so to hold the line. But with Azrael doing nothing other than just static warfare, I'm not sure if he's going to make the best use. He's just going more static defense. Now that is unfortunate for the North team and anyone who's rooting for him. And at this point, it feels like it's a 1900 versus... and sometimes I say people are playing above their weight and punching above their weight, but I'm not really seeing that from today's teams. I have to say, everybody seems to be a lot more, playing in accordance with their ratings. And no small exception to Unknown. I'm just thinking, with more and more static stuff coming out from the Northern team, is the Southern team going to try push through, or are they going to switch gears and drop a nuke in or something like that? Of course, you can't build everything everywhere all the time. Oh no, with a massive air grid, I think we may see it come down to the snipes and strap bombers. Here we see some of the Tech 3 whalers there from the Cybrans. What were the... I picked UEF initially because way back in Supreme Commander days, there were only one Tech 3 gunship, and it was the UEF Broadsword. No other race had that. There was no Restorer, there was no Renegade, there was no Seraphim. And so I thought, oh, I like that broadsword thing. I'll go UEF because I like that unit. And that was the start and the end of my decision to go UEF. The fact that you could get Tech 2 or Tech 3 on the commander and have a gun was incidental. The fact that the commander had a Billy, a tactical missile launcher, was incidental. Of course, then the Seraphim got a tactical missile launcher who could go Tech 3 and gun as well. But again, that race didn't exist ways back when, and I was somebody that was a racial purist in that regard. I best not say that. It was I liked the faction. I like the faction. Let's say it that ways. And it, you know, like 90-some% of my games were with the UEF, and I was very good at it. Put me in one of the other factions, well, I knew the basics. But somebody who knows more than the basics here, Unknown, is just tearing apart. And all of these defenses were against ground targets. Azrael's base picked apart for naught here. Not a single unit that can shoot upwards. What a mistake that was. Unknown thinks, yeah, I know. Haha, moving in, sucker. Unknown moves in. Azrael moves out. Oh, it does now send some Tech 1 and... Yeah, well... I mean, that's kind of like throwing flowers at riot police that are unfairly locking down a city. Not always the best way to deal with, but occasionally might work somewhere with one of them. At this point, Stuxnet's got to be thinking, what the hell, dude? Although Stuxnet with a Monkey Lord, he has to get anti-air defense with this. He's got a massive wall to walk into. Gutsy Heart is running away. Two other players, meanwhile, on the Southern team... Sorry, one on the Southern team gets another experimental. A chicken bot, not a moment too soon here from Azrael, and that is going to deal... Don't land the planes! Pick up your air superiority fighters. A lot of broadswords here, though, from Unknown. Or the broadsword equivalent, the Renegade. I think the Renegade's just going to have its way with this chicken. Meanwhile, Incy Wincy Spider avoiding this massive point defense wall. Who can blame him? Trending south. Problem I fear for it is there is no anti-air protection. He's got no flaks, no walking SAM sites, no nothing. Quasar could pick that off at any time, and I'm guessing as soon as he's dealt with chicken over here, although we're finally seeing a lightning tank out from Azrael, so that's nice to see. Finally something that can shoot back at the overwhelming air force that Unknown has been wielding, and he elects to bring the chicken back until it's got more air screen. And missed yet another kill. Unknown, rather than dealing with the problem head on, decides, you know what, I'm going around the side and I'm going to deal with the problem at source. Bites off the head. And now suddenly Azrael versus 3 players. His Monkey Bot runs it. Oh no! Monkey Bot goes down to a GC. Yet more and more gunships coming up from Unknown. He picks off the chicken. This minor run by here. I'm not sure that it looks like it was out of range, but Azrael just all out of APM, got nothing left to deal with. Looks like he's maybe thinking about moving his commander to take a look, but his forward defenses are just collapsing. Yes, he's still got an economy, bringing in 580 some mass per tick, but I don't think he can spend it. Oh, he is though. I'd love to know what's he building. Well, it's another monkey bot. Better than nothing. Now here comes the command. Oh, he runs away. He's letting the smallest of run-bys chew up his base. Oh no, now using sniper bots to great effect. Picking off defensive targets from a distance. Azrael trying to get another chicken bot produced, but that's he's going to have to hurry up with it. He manages to get a megalith out as well. GC, meanwhile, coming in, closing off the northwest side. Azrael's getting right squished. And apologies if I miss. There's the Monkey Lord. Does get that finished. That finally deals with that microscopic run-by that caused him so many headaches. Lightning tanks galore. Don't just stand there. You need to be aggressive here. Azrael, it's now or never. You're losing Alpha through Charlie. All flanks are collapsing, pal. You've got to get aggressive if you're to stand any chance here. Massive squadron of whalers and a lot of lightning tanks. Unknown loses quite a lot of them, but I don't think he's going to worry. He's still got a lot. Everybody's moving in. Looks like Unknown's trying to finish the game. Moving towards the commander. I guess he realizes with Incy Wincy there, he maybe didn't have enough. Incy Wincy came as a surprise. Climbed out the spout just in time. But you see it. Now Azrael's moving in, leading with his yeah, no. You need them with your Megabot. These are all going to go down. Ravager fire there from Emmy takes out almost all the anti-air protection that the Megalith had. And that's going to enable Unknown to come in with his tech free. He's got a few left, but lost so many. Unknown goes after the anti-air first, which is the right thing to do. Mega now just eating battery of... Oh, he's eating Ravager fire, and he's going after isolated engineers. Azrael thinks, dang. Well, it looks like the Southern team on this one started pretty well, and things just went better. The two for twos, again, yeah, one player goes down for one team, one player goes down for the other, but it certainly favoured the Southern team. Hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, wherever in the world you may be, take care. From me, and from everybody else here in the northern UK, which is completely unrelated to the stream, I hope you have a good day. And to everyone else, I must remember this time to leave the videos in. Take care. Bye-bye.